Now, just to let you know what this video is going to be about, we're going to be learning about the different slopes. I'm going to go through each of the examples. You may even pause the videos once you have an understanding of the first calculation of the slope and do the second one yourself before I do it. So let's start with the four main slopes. So this one right here is considered a positive slope. You can see it moves up to the right, up to the right. The second common one is line J. This is considered negative slope. You could see it moves downwards, to the right, down, and so on. And then we have the vertical line, which is considered undefined because we're going to be dividing by 0. And then we have the horizontal line right here, line L, and this is essentially a slope of 0. So what are the formulas? So here's the formula for slope. It's m is equal to change in y over change in x. Another way of writing this is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You may also find it written as just rise over run. Okay, so that's a basic formula for finding the slope. And you use each of the points here to find the slope. So let's go through each example. So we have a positive slope here, and what you want to do is you want to pick a point. You want to pick 2 points, any point. So let's say we pick this point right here, and then pick this point right here. And let's say we call this point A, and this point B. And the coordinates, let's say of A, we can see that the x value is 3, and the y value is 3 as well. And then for B, we can see that this is x value is -2 and y value is also -2. So I've made this points very simple so that we just understand the basics of how this works. So let's use our formula. And if you remember the formula, it's m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So the way you want to do this, you want to be consistent. You want to pick any point and then subtract from the other point. So let's say we start with point A. We start with the y value, and we can see that the y value is 3. And then we go to the y value of B, which is, so remember it's 3 minus, and then the y value is -2. Divided. And then for the x value, we can see here it's 3 as well for A, and then for B it's -2 as well. So our answer is going to be 3 minus -2, that's just 3 plus 2, that's 5. And then 3 minus -2 again is just 5, which is 1. So our slope for this line is 1. And this makes sense because you can see here, if you look, let's say we start at point B, it goes up 1 point and then to the right, and then a run of 1 to the right, and so on. Right? You can see that it goes up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, rise, run, up to the right, and so on. So this is our positive slope. Okay, so we're going to do a negative slope. You can pause the video and try to do this yourself. Pick a point and then do the calculation. We'll see if you get it right. And it doesn't matter which point you pick. So let's say I pick this point right here, and then I pick, let's say, this is a bit better. The line is not perfect, but you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's say this point, the coordinates for this point is, the x value is -2, and the y value is 2. And then for this point here, it's the x value is 3, and the y value is -3. Okay, so let's use our formula. Remember, it's m y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So pick any point. So start with one point and be consistent and stick with that point while you're subtracting from the other one. So let's say we start with this. So let's take the y values. The y value we see is -3 minus the other point, which is just 2, over the x value. We come back to this point, 3 minus -2. Okay, so if we do the calculation for that, we can see this is going to be -5, and then this is going to be 5, which is eventually going to give us -1. And you can see our slope m is equal to -1. And this makes sense because you could see that it moves to the right 1 and then down, to the right, down, and so on. Right? And then so if you got the same slope, you're correct. So we're always going to get a negative value for the slope because this is going downwards. Okay, so let's do the third common one. This is the vertical line. Again, pick points, any points. Let's say we pick this point and this point. And then we have our formula, m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So this coordinate would be, x value would be 2, y value is 1. This one is, x coordinate is 2, not -2, 2, and the y value is -3. Okay, so let's pick our y values. Let's say we start with this point. So y value is 1, and we subtract from the other point, 1 minus -3. And then here, it's we go back to this point, 2 minus 2, and you can see where this is going. So 1 minus 3 is just 1 plus 3, so it's going to be 4, and at the bottom is 0. And we know in math that we can't divide by 0, so this is considered undefined. So vertical slopes are considered undefined. All right, let's do the last one. Pause the video if you want to do this yourself. So let's pick this point right here, and let's pick this point. The coordinates with this would be -2, y value would be 2, and then for this point, x value is 3, y value is 2. Okay, let's use our formula again. M is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's pick any random point and stick with that one consistently. So let's say we start with this point here. And it doesn't matter, you could start with this point too. It's whichever you pick, but just be consistent. Okay, so let's start with the y value. So 2 minus 2. 2 minus 2, and then the x values are 3 minus -2. And that's going to give us 0 over 5. And so our slope is essentially 0. So horizontal lines are always going to have a slope equal to 0. All right, so that's the main 4 slopes that you're going to learn about. So remember what we did together. Pick a point, stay consistent with it, and do the calculation using the formula m is equal to change in y over change in x. I hope this was clear and helpful, and now you have a firm understanding of slope and how to calculate it. If this was helpful to you, please subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment and share.